Wisconsin's a great place for bike trails and hiking trails, and so it's great to be a part of that.
Hello again, and welcome back to another episode of Wisconsin's Outdoor Explorer podcast. I am your host, Jason, and Wisconsin is filled with a lot of trails, just miles and miles of biking, hiking, snowshoeing, cross-country ski trails. We have a lot of them, and that's one of the things that makes Wisconsin so great. There's always opportunities and ways for you to get out and enjoy the outdoors in Wisconsin. And recently, my wife and I took an adventure on a candlelight snowshoe trail in Merrill, and the trail is called the Riverbend Trail. And I mentioned it in a podcast a couple weeks ago that we went out and did it. And this is a great little trail. It's a small trail, and I was curious about how it started and how it got going. And on today's podcast, we are going to talk with Jon Krohn, the River District Development Foundation president in Merrill, and he's going to tell us about what it is, how it started, and their vision for this trail. I think you're going to be really impressed with what they want to do, and once this trail is complete, the capabilities of this trail and where this trail is going to go. It's going to be really, really a cool spot and a cool place for north central Wisconsin to have the Riverbend Trail completed. So here's my interview with Jon, the River District Development Foundation president. Jon, thanks for joining us on the podcast today.
You're welcome.
So, Jon, what's your earliest memory of being outdoors?
Well, my earliest memory of being outdoors is playing outside all day. I guess I grew up in that era where you'd leave in the morning and get called in for lunch and head back out until play outside till supper time. So that's kind of a bygone era with all the technology that kids do now, but I've always enjoyed being outside.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I grew up, too. It was as soon as the sun was up, you were outside, and you basically were out there until the sun went down. So it was a good time to grow up, I always think.
Yep.
So, Jon, let's talk about the Riverbend Trail. How did it start? Where did it get its beginnings?
Well, the beginnings formally started in 2011. A group of citizens led by Gene Bevel, a retired principal from one of our elementary schools in Merrill, and some other citizens saw an opportunity when the Central Wisconsin Railroad abandoned some of the railroad connectors within the city of Merrill, and so they formed an organization which acquired that right away from the railroad and started raising funds and started building trails. So it really was a grassroots organization, and their first trail segment was completed in 2014. So it was really, I consider it a pretty remarkable success from start to something actually happening. So that's where it started, and now it's continuing. We've completed 3 additional segments since then to where we've got almost 5 miles of trail that's off-road and paved through the city of Merrill.
How long was it when you first started? Because now you're up to 5 miles. Was it like a 2-mile trail when it started?
It was a 1.5-mile segment that was completed from Park Street in Merrill to the Weinbrenner Shoe Company. And so that was kind of goes right behind downtown Merrill, past the dam that's in Merrill, and so that was the first segment that was completed, and it included a bridge that's over the Prairie River, and immediately people started noticing. It's like, oh, we've had the riverfront all these years and really no access to it. So it was, I know for myself, it was like, wow, this is really a beautiful walk, and what a wonderful addition to our community.
Where does it start now? Has it expanded outward? Is it going out of town a little bit more now?
We reach Main Street, which crosses the Wisconsin River, Highway 64. That's where it currently ends. The railroad line that we acquired continues to the north towards council grounds, and that segment construction will begin on that this fall, which will take us around Lincoln Windows property and get us about another, not quite a mile more of track getting closer to council grounds. And we've also completed track going east out to Walmart. There's a paved section that goes around some properties. And then last year the city redid Highway 64 coming into town and included putting a bike path to the south of the road to connect out to Walmart. So right now we have a designated path between Walmart and council grounds, which basically covers east to west through the city of Merrill.
Yeah, and that'll be really nice once you get it into council grounds to bring in people that are visiting the state park there as well, won't it?
Yes. So right now they can. There's trails through next to council ground is the Merrill Area Recreation Complex, and currently has trails that it's a sidewalk designated trail that can connect to the Riverbend Trail. So that's all a bike route that people that visit town can utilize.
What are some of the activities right now that you can do on the trail?
Well, the big thing, obviously, is either walking or biking. It is a paved trail, and it is also, for most of the segments currently have lighting, so that can be used in the evenings. You see, when I'm on the trail, a lot of people out with families. Strollers are common with babies. One of the kind of what I find a very useful feature is, especially in the summertime, we have a lot of special needs students that are either wheelchair-bound or need supervision and need to be on a safe place where they can't suddenly dart into traffic. And so you'll see them, a lot of times they'll be out with their providers almost every day that it's nice. So it really meets our handicap needs. One of the features that we'll be expanding this spring is putting in a handicap fishing ramp next to our trailhead where we have a pavilion as well in a park. So that will be one of the, as far as we know, probably the only handicap fishing on a river section, not a flowage or a lake. It's not common to find access along the flowing river. Not a fisherman, but I know some people that's important to be able to fish below a dam, and so that'll provide a unique access that'll set us a little bit apart.
So is the whole trail paved right now?
Yes, the whole trail is paved. Basically, we plan to continue doing that within the city limits. We do have plans to connect to Tomahawk and Wausau, and that most likely, at least initially, will just be a aggregate surface similar to other state trails around.
What about pets? Are pets allowed on this trail?
Yes, pets are allowed. Obviously, we ask people to clean up after their pet.
Yeah. Do you need a pass, or is this just open to the public for anybody to come and use?
Right now, this is open to the public. It's not part of anything. It's considered a city linear park and is open for anyone to use.
In your mind, what makes this trail so special? Like, what are some of the unique features that people are going to see when they walk the Riverbend Trail?
Well, one of the features is the fact, alluded to the name, is it's next to the river. Many bike trails and walking trails might have short segments, but we have most of the 5 miles is right next to the river, and our expansion plans will continue following the river. We're looking at expanding to Wausau along the Wisconsin River and going north to Tomahawk along Highway 107, again, follows the river. So we have a potential of having about a 40-mile trail that will be predominantly Wisconsin River frontage.
And that's something that would be really kind of unique here to that central and north-central Wisconsin area, wouldn't it?
Right. That you don't find too many trails It's kind of one of the oddities in Merrill is that there's very little riverfront development. The old sawmills dominated the riverfront, and as they obviously eventually went out of business, there's a couple of businesses located along the river, but residential or commercial development really didn't happen. So we have this really pristine, undeveloped area that we're taking advantage of.
Now you're talking about going to Tomahawk and to Wausau. Give everybody an idea of kind of the timeline that you're hoping that happens in.
Well, obviously it's a big plan, but we're right now negotiations are going with Wisconsin Public Service, because what we discovered is back in 1905, a company called Wisconsin River Traction and Power Company started acquiring 50 feet of property next to the existing rail line with the intent to build an electric trolley line between Wausau and Merrill. I think the advent of the Model T and roads suddenly made that not an economic viability.
Sure.
That land still is there, and that's what we're hoping to utilize, that corridor, and start hopefully in the next couple of years with development moving towards Wausau. Similarly, I don't know, many people are familiar with the Heart of Vilas Trail up by Boulder Junction, and that trail is kind of what we are envisioning for going to Tomahawk, following along 107, either utilizing the right-of-way next to the road, or finding landowners that would allow us to build the trail slightly off the road, similar to that trail, to connect to Tomahawk along Highway 107. So both those projects are in the discussion phase with the various municipalities and interested parties, and we hope to get some concrete plans in the next couple of years. My vision is that we hopefully would be ready to start constructing by 2025. So it's a little ways off, but certainly in progress.
Yeah. What do you need to help get this done?
Well, the big thing obviously is funds, and funds and cooperation. Wisconsin River Traction and Power Company it does not appear that they were able to acquire the 50-foot parcel on every property owner. So we have, between Merrill and Wausau, we have 6 sections that are currently belong to either private people or corporations. The corporations we've contacted, they are all willing to let us go through their properties when we get to that point. We just aren't far enough along to contact the individual landowners. So that always helps, is to have people that support having a trail come through their property. It's I find it's an enhancement, and to me it increases somebody's property value, but not everybody shares that opinion.
Yeah.
So that's important. And then obviously it's going to be, there's right now when I look at Google Maps, I can see 6 trestles along the railroad line crossing creeks or rivers. There could be additional culverts that aren't showing up on the map so bridges are expensive and so forth, but there's certainly, it's been talked about as long as I've lived in the area for 25 years, and people have always been talking about getting a bike trail, especially one that's off-road and following close to the railroad grade. Hopefully would be eliminate some rather large hills between Merrill and Wausau that the casual biker would appreciate avoiding.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you really got a good start. What would this mean to the city of Merrill to have this all complete?
Well, I'm envisioning, and so does many on our board, we want to make Merrill a destination. We have an incredible number of outdoor opportunities, starting with our Council Ground State Park. We have the Underdown area, which is popular for both summertime hiking as well as wintertime snowshoeing, mountain biking, fat biking. We have the Harrison Hills area, which is for ATV users, which there aren't a lot of opportunities for ATV trails with as much mileage or amount of trails we have. as well as the Wisconsin River for canoeing and kayaking. So there's a lot of opportunities. So having a trail that connecting to Tomahawk gets us to the Hiawatha Trail, which connects to the Bearskin, and getting to Wausau connects us to the Mountain Bay Trail, which takes you all the way to Green Bay. So it really puts Merrill kind of in a place that would be an ideal location to come and spend a few days and go in different directions. One of the things that'll set Merrill apart is our motels currently are literally right on the trail. So people that want to get access to the trail can basically walk out their door and head in whichever direction they choose. So that's the vision and how we see us fitting into the future and making Merrill more of a destination instead of a way that you stop and get gas on your way up north.
Yeah, you definitely would open that door to those through hikers and through bikers that want to make a nice long week or a weekend journey. Basically, is what you're doing. So that's really cool that you're kind of filling that gap. Really, that's there right now is what the plan is basically.
Well, and I know the fat bike and mountain biking people, I believe, are in the process of getting the Underdown area some type of certification to make it, a superior place or whatever their categorization, as well as the Ice Age Trail goes through Lincoln County and is near Merrill. So there's a lot of outdoor opportunities that, for a family or a group of adventure-type people that staying in Merrill, you could find a lot of things to do.
Yeah. So what would it mean to you to have this vision complete?
Well, for one, I'm an avid biker. I've reached that age where the e-assist bike is just reopened biking to me.
Good.
I had gotten to the point where going up a hill, I'd have to walk up, and now I can. If people aren't familiar, the e-assist bike only works if you're pedaling. The motor engages and helps you pedal, maintain your cadence on pedaling up hills. And there's a lot of festivals and events that happen in Wausau, and where I live, it would be a 15-mile ride down to Wausau. And what a wonderful way to spend the day to ride down in the morning, attend a festival, and then return. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is having that opportunity to have a safe route, off-road route, that can get me to Wausau as well as up to Tomahawk.
What's your favorite part of the trail right now?
Well, right now I really enjoy the bridge over the Prairie River. I like old railroad bridges, so it's a reclaimed old railroad bridge. I should mention we have it's called the Agra Pavilion, because our local business in town, Agra, has donated funds to refurbish a shed that Wisconsin Public Service had used just as storage, and it's now kind of our centerpiece at our trailhead. It's a year-round facility. It has heat, a kitchen. It has space for over 100 people, as well as in the summertime we have overhead doors that open up and awnings that extend out, so a larger group can utilize it. It's been refurbished. I think if you saw it on your candlelight walk, it is really a first-class facility that you can rent through the City of Merrill Parks Department, and I think it really is kind of the centerpiece of our trailhead. So
it's a really great building, and the candlelight walk was how I discovered the trail. Do you guys have any other events that you plan throughout the year that people can attend and learn more about the trail?
Every August we have a pig roast, or at least we've done it for 2 Augusts, and I plan to make that an annual event, usually the last weekend in August. And then they also have what they call kind of a fall fest, which is just an open day where vendors can set up at the pavilion. It's sort of just first come, first serve. If they want to set up and sell crafts or produce or whatever, so that is a fall event. And then we try to have various candlelight or walks throughout the year.
How can some people get involved and help you with this trail?
Well, we have a website, riverbendtrail.org, and there's also we have a friends group, which they believe they have a Facebook page, and that is one area where a number of people have joined. The friends group does some of our fundraising activities. They're more focused on smaller fundraising activities that can help build amenities. One of the things they did is they created a fire pit area, and they put and people purchased memorial paver stones that are engraved, and that was a real successful fundraiser. So they're looking at getting the $50, $100, $1,000 kind of donations for some of the amenities versus RDDF Foundation. We are the ones that solicit various donors and foundations for the larger sums for building the trail. So,
is there volunteer opportunities to help maintain the trail?
Yeah, we've at times we'll have days where we'll set aside to either clear. There's a lot of invasive species along the riverfront that we like to try to remove some of that invasive brush. There are other opportunities for doing some plantings, so there are at various times. Again, the Friends District organizes these volunteer days where anyone in the community can get involved and help do some maintenance or some plantings along the trail.
Well, Jon, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I think what you're doing with the Riverbend Trail and in Merrill is really amazing, and I look forward to biking that path from Wausau up to Tomahawk someday, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to really, really be a great thing for the city of Merrill.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great for Merrill. It really gets us closer to, we will then only need a segment from Hurley to Ashland, and a person would be able to bike from Green Bay to Superior on the trail.
That would be amazing.
That's, I think, probably in somebody's envisionment that we'll be getting to that point. But Wisconsin's a great place for bike trails and hiking trails, and so it's great to be a part of that.
Well, and I'm glad you're leading this charge in Merrill. And again, thank you for coming on the podcast. And I'll have links to all the website and the groups that you mentioned. So people, if they want to help and get volunteers and make donations, they can do that. So thanks again for coming on the podcast.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate getting the word out because we really do have a wonderful trail.
I want to thank Jon again for coming on the podcast. Wouldn't it be amazing to have a trail that leads from Wausau all the way up to Tomahawk? I think what they're doing is really commendable. They're putting a lot of work in it, and they've come a long way in a short amount of time. They've already got 5 miles of trails complete, and hearing his vision to have it connect to Wausau all the way up to Tomahawk is really going to be great for this north central Wisconsin area. It's going to be a very unique trail that you're going to be able to follow the Wisconsin River and see some really beautiful scenery in Wisconsin. So if you want to be a part of what they're doing there, I'm going to leave some links to their website, to their Facebook page, so that you can reach out, and if you can help by donating money, go ahead and do that. If you want to volunteer, he talked about needing volunteers to help keep the trail clean, and they need help just with events and activities. Go out and reach out to them, and let's help make this trail a part of Wisconsin and a part of our outdoor plans for the future. Again, I want to thank Jon for coming on the podcast, and I want you to help support these smaller trails. We have a lot of large trails. The Ice Age Trail goes through here, and there's so many other trails and state parks and things like that, but it's these little trails and the work that goes into these small trails are what really connect Wisconsin. They're so important, and there's a lot of people doing a lot of hard, important work to make these trails come to life. I think sometimes we forget how important these are. And if you can go out and support even a local one that you have in your area, go out and do that. Go out and help them. Be a volunteer, whether it's time or money, whatever you can do to help these small trails grow, because the more they grow, the more opportunities there are for us to do things like through hiking and through biking And it just opens up so many new possibilities for Wisconsin when these small trails grow and start connecting with other small trails. So next time you want to go out, find one of these trails as you head out to be one of Wisconsin's outdoor explorers. I'm your host, Jason. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll talk to you again next week. Thanks for listening to the Wisconsin's Outdoor Explorer podcast. For more great information about being an outdoor explorer, visit our website at wisconsinsoutdoorexplorer.com. Be sure to check out the blog page and follow us on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.